Good morning, Rabbi Isai. The Nishma Asimi Muras Mordechai live from Shmulik Wasserman's house in Lincolnwood. Rabbi Isai, phenomenal daf. So we're holding 2, 4, 6, or 7 lines from the bottom. Rav Chanina Chayza Itbadle Gaba de Bisro. Same stories we had yesterday, just a different part of the body of the animal. We're in a city of Jews, mostly Jews, and he lost a nice piece of meat. So he lost this piece of meat. Also, Rav Nachman, so he goes to Rav Nachman, Omar Le, Islach, Simon Begave, same thing as we had yesterday. Do you have any simonim? You have any simonim? Omar Le Loi, I don't have any simon. I don't have any telling signs. Islach Tfius Eina Begave, could you recognize it? Are you able to recognize it? Forget the simonim. Now, what does it mean to recognize? So, I think the best way to describe recognizing is when you recognize your children, you recognize your friends, you recognize people that you meet in the street and shul, you don't have any simon. There's no simon. You can't say, oh, his ear has a hole in it, his nose is longer. You recognize. You know this is him. There's no simon that there was a hole in the meat like this, it was longer over here like that. No, you recognize. Could you recognize it? Yes, I can recognize it. If you can recognize it, zil shkoil, then you're permitted to eat it. Rav Nosson bar Abaya, a third story. He lost a whole spool of tchelas, of the blue stuff that we make tzitzis out of. Also, the Rav Chizda also says the same thing. Do you have a simon? Do you know what your spool is different than anybody else's? No. So he says, do you have a sign? Do you have a simon? It's a little different, the sign. It's the sign that we were discussing the other day with Nichosh and Simonim. Do you have, could you recognize the spool of tchelas? Yeah, that I could. Recognition, yes. So says the Gemara, it doesn't even go ahead and take it. I used to think, says Rava, that a simon is preferable than recognition. Why? Because when you lose something, you don't come and tell the person, oh, let me see this cup. I lost this cup. Yeah, this is mine. I recognize it. Because then everybody will come and just take it. So, but a simon does work for you. You hear? If you went and you said, I have a simon, it's torn over here, there's a scratch over there, we believe you. Hashta the shaminu. Hashta the shamintinu. Lahani shmaitza. Now that I heard all these 3 stories of people that lost the meat and people that lost a spool of tchelas and they gave it back to them based on the tfius ayin. Now I say, amino tfius ayin adifo. Tfius ayin is better. Okay? Zok the Gemara. The Eloi tema hachi. Because if you won't say this, how can a blind man be allowed to be with his wife? Maybe it's not his wife, maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's somebody that's also them. And regular human beings, regular people, people that do see. How could they be with their wives at night when they can't see them? Ella, but tfius ain't the color. Must be they recognize the voice, and that's enough. So there's tfius ain't the color. There's tfius ain't. In other words, there's recognition. I'll prove it to you that what you're saying is true. That recognition is a great simon. If 2 people come with simonim, yeah, we have a guy, the murderer, he was wearing contact lenses. But that's our simon. We don't recognize. We're not going to kill a person based on that. But if we recognize him, human recognition, facial recognition is a tremendous koyach. I call upon him. How do we kill somebody? We can't kill somebody based on a simon, but we could kill somebody based on Tfiyasai. So Tosfos asked the question, isn't it true that you can marry off a woman based on Simanim? If somebody says, listen, the husband had this and this and that and he died, and this is the Siman, you can marry her off. And then she gets married, we will kill her if she was Mizana afterwards. If she was Mizana afterwards, we'll kill her. So basically, she gets killed based on Simanim. So Tosfos says, he comes out with a big chiddush and he says, you're right, in this case, we will not kill her based on Simanim. You asked me that you could kill somebody based on Simanim? No, you cannot. And you cannot kill her based on the one aid. Okay. Omer Ravashi Teida, let me prove it to you. If you tell somebody, listen, go into the shul. There's only 200 people in there. Get me the guy that's about 5 feet tall. He's wearing glasses. He has a little beard. So 90 out of 100 times, he's going to pull out the wrong guy. But if you tell him, the guy you recognize, he's gonna call him out. Go call a guy. He's wearing a shtreimel, and he has a brown beard, and he's 5'7". Okay, so there's 1,000 people like that in the show. It's a big subject whether or not he's going to call the right guy out. It's late for you saying but if you recognize him, so anyways, you see that Tfiyas Ayin, the recognition is the main thing. To recognize is better than to use a siman. Says the Mishnah, so as we had the machlokes earlier, the Mishnah is repeating somewhat of the machlokes. How much of the Gid Hanosha do you have to remove? Says Remeir, that's the Tanakama over here, you have to remove it all. As we saw, the Remeir holds, you have to dig into the meat and take it all out. It's called what we call today nikur. Go deep in, take it out. So Zok the Mishnah. So Tanakama holds you have to remove the entire Gid. You don't have to remove the whole thing. Just whatever you see on the top, take off, remove. You don't have to go deep into it. Not the part that's embedded in the meat. If you eat a full kezayis, usually achila is a kezayis, you get 40 malchus, 39 malchus. If you ate the entire gid hanosha, but it's a smaller animal and it's not a full kezayis, chayav. Why? The Gemara is going to explain. Because according to this Mandamar, if you eat an ant, even though it's not a kezayis, obviously, what ant is a kezayis? Very few ants in the world are kezayis. I guess in the Amazon they might have some ants that are kezayis. But if you eat an ant, you're chayiv. Whatever you chayiv, the 5, the 8, whatever it was. So, why? Because you ate a whole creature. So if you eat gid hanosha, the whole creature, the whole birya, you chayiv. If you ate the right thigh, gid hanosha, and the left thigh is gid hanosha, soivik arba'im, chayiv 80. You don't get 80, you get 40. Why? Because Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that Gid Hanosh is only on one side. Which side the Gemara determined? It's the right side. Mamela, you only get 40. Says the Gemara's story. Bar Piyoyle have a koi kamed Shmuel. Mamash Amaisa, Agadata. Bar Piyoyle was sitting there in front of Shmuel. Become a nakar atma. He was doing nikur. What did he say it's called? He's doing trebering in front of Shmuel. He's doing trebering on the thigh. Have a call goyim lay, and he was only removing the upper part. Here's the thigh, and there's a gid hanosha on the thigh. So he cut it off. He took it off, but he didn't go deep into the thigh. Shmuel's watching. He said, "Whoa, stop, Bar Piyoyle, you got to go deeper in, deeper down." And he tells him, "Hashtali chazisech sefeiseli yisura." If had I not been here to tell you to go deeper down, you would have been feeding me gid hanosha. You would have made me being over isaderaisa. Irtas. What happens when Shmuel catches you red-handedly? You start shaking like a leaf. Nofal sakinim yodei. The knife fell out of his hand. Omerlei. So Shmuel tells him like tirtas. Don't be so scared. Don't think that I think you're an Amaretz, that you're a Rashi, you did it on purpose. Whoever taught you how to do trabering was teaching you like Rabbi Yehuda's Shita, and that is just take off from the top, you don't have to go deep in. So he says the interesting lesson which the Gemara doesn't understand, the Gemara is going to have to change. This that he was taught was the Eraisa of Rabbi Yehuda, the top part. This part that you could see, the visual, the one that's easy to see, that's the Eraisa, meaning the part that's inside, embedded inside, that's not the Eraisa, rather it is the Rabbanon. But wait a minute, the Rabbanon, the Rabbi Yehuda, so if he was taught that you only have to take the top part out, and you don't have to dig in, but digging in is also, according to Rabbi Yehuda, a chiyuv to do because it's the Rabbanon, so who taught him what he was taught? El Rav Sheshes, no. The top part, the visual part is the Raisa according to everybody. Umay the Shire, and the stuff that's left inside the meat, the Rabbanon or Meir. Only Rabbi Meir says it's the Rabbanon. But Rabbi Yehuda holds it's completely mutter inside the meat. The Rabbi Yehuda, Afilim, the Rabbanon, Shari. So again, Nachamal. The Gira Nosha that's on top of the meat, as I'm going to show you the video, we saw it before, but we'll see it again. That's, according to everybody, is a deraisa. The Gira Nosha that goes into the meat, according to Rabbi Meir, it's a derabanan, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not even the derabanan. You could eat that, no problem. So we said in the Mishnah that if you eat a kazayis of the Gira Nosha, you get 40 malchus, and if you eat the entire Gira Nosha, you also get malchus, says the Tanakama. The part of the Gira Nosha that's on the spoon, this round piece of flesh. Now, a beautiful video from Rabbi Amitai ben David. Look at the pasuk for a second, then we'll see the video. It's Gira Nosha. Al kaf hayorech, on the spoon of the thigh. Adayim Azet to this very day. Kinoga bekaf yerech Yaakov b'Gira Nosha, because the Malach hit Yaakov Avinu in the spoon of the thigh. What is the spoon of the thigh?
Al ken lo yoichlu bnei Yisrael es Gira Nosha asher al kaf hayorech. כאן זה כף הירך. מה זה כף? רש"י אומר בשר שהוא עגול,
it's round.
כף הפוכה.
Look at it. Pulls it out. It's beautiful. Doesn't get any better than this.
שזה בעצם, הצומס הגידים שהראינו מקודם זה שרירים. הגיד הנושה זה עצבים. העצב הראשי שבא מחוט השדרה ויורד לאורך הירך. בכל הרגל. אז בואו נראה אותו. הנה הגיד הנושה הזה, הנה הוא לפנינו, שעליו הגמרא אומרת שרק הגיד הפנימי שהוא שוכב על הכף, זה הכף, הבשר שהוא עשוי בצורה עגולה כמו כף הפוכה, אז זה הבשר האסור. אבל הגיד הזה פה, זה כולו מתחיל מלמעלה עד למטה, זה מה שנקרא sciatic nerve. זה עצב הראשי שבעצם הוא עצב אחד, אבל התורה הגדירה רק את מה שעל הכף, גם כל ההתפצלויות שמתפצלות, שזה נקרא קנוקנות, קנוי קנויס גיד הנושה, שהן אסורות רק מדרבנון, וכן שומן של גיד. אתם רואים את הלבן הזה?
Okay.
הלבן הזה זה...
So now we know what the kaf is. Says the Gemara. Says Shmuel. Shmuel says Allah. Omer Shmuel. Lo yasro toira elo sha'ala kaf bilvad. The only part of the Gira Nosha that's also not in the entire thigh from top to bottom, but on that spoon the Rabbi Amitai ben David whacked it with his hand. Poof, poof. That round piece of meat, on that the Gira Nosha is also. The rest is not also. Shenemar al kaf hayorech, on the spoon of the thigh. Omer apapa ketanoi. So in fact, it's a machlokes tanoim, and we're going to see. Acholi ben bekazayis chayiv. If you eat the entire sciatic nerve. The entire Gid Anosha, but it doesn't even have a shear of a kazayis. Says the time, Kami Chayv Rabbi Yehuda Omer Ad Shear Kazayis. No, you only chayv when it has a whole kazayis. My time, the Rabbanon, what's the reasoning of a Rabbanon? Biryahi, it's an entire creature. Thank you. It's an entire creature. Even when it's not a living creature, but it's an entire bria. That's Tzadik Vav and Beis, Geshmak. Look how beautiful. Look at this. Look at this. Turn the page. That's Tzadik Vav and Beis. Look how short it is. Look how short Amud Aleph is. Rabbi Yehuda, Achilo Ksiva Bei. Says the Gemara, but if you look at the pasuk, Rabbi Isai, what does it say in the pasuk? It says, Al Kain lo yoichlu b'nei Yisrael's Gid Anosha. The Torah calls it eating. It's not consuming, putting it in your body. It's to eat it. And anytime the Torah talks about eating, it's a kezayis. V'Rabbanon. Oh, so Rabbi Yehuda says, it says achila. It says you have to eat, and eating is a kezayis. Says the Gemara, what about Rabbanon? Don't they agree it says the word achila? Al-kain lo yoichlu b'nei Yisrael, it's achila. And achila means a kezayis. How come they don't hold you need a kezayis? Rabbanon, hi achila dechi izbei arba v'chamisha zeisim v'ochal chad kezayis mechayev. Yes. The Torah says achila, but for a different reason. That if it's a very large Gid Anosha, let's say it's a 5 kezeisim Gid Anosha, it's 5 zeisim. So maybe you would think you have to eat all 5 zeisim. That's why the Torah says yoichlu, that 1 kezais is enough for you to be chayiv in that case. Rabbi Yehuda, and how does Rabbi Yehuda know that halacha? Because Rabbi Yehuda already uses it up, this yoichlu, that you don't need a bria, you don't need a whole thing. I'm sorry, that if it's a bria, it's not enough, that you need a kezayis. So how does he know that if it's a 5 kezaysim earner, a 5 kezaysim earner, Gid Anosha, you only have to eat 1 kezayis? Masher al kaf hayorach nafka. He learns it from the fact that the Torah says that any gid that's on the spoon, you're chayiv. In other words, even though it's a 5 kezaysim gid, you're chayiv even if you eat 1 out of the 5. Rabbanan, what do they do with the Asher al Kaf HaYarech? Look at the Shmuel. This halacha that we learned from Shmuel. Shmuel, Yasser Torah, Elo Shal Kaf HaYarech. That the only chiyuv, the only Issa D'Oraisa is the Gid Anosha that's on the spoon, on that piece of meat that's rounded. And everything else not. Al Kaf HaYarech. And why does Rabbi Yehuda argue on that? It says Kaf HaYarech. Rabbi Yehuda HaYarech Ksiv, the Kula Yarech. That everything that's on top of the thigh. In other words, okay, so Rabbi Yehuda says 2 things. First of all, it's not only confined to the calf, but rather the entire length of the thigh. But don't forget, Rabbi Yehuda says it doesn't have to be embedded. It's whatever on the top you remove. So the kuli yarech doesn't mean, it's not literally the entire thigh inside embedded, but on top of the entire thigh. V'Rabbanan, what do they do with hayarech? Ahu the pashad isuri b'kuli yarech. It's the sciatic nerve that runs the length of the entire yerech. Now, they actually hold that it's only in one particular area of the yerech, on the spoon of the yerech. But it runs, the sciatic nerve runs from top to bottom. Versus lafpuki chitza in the loy. If you look at this nerve, we're not going to see it here, but the blue nerve goes from top to bottom. The chitza doesn't. And what the Torah is telling us is that we're referring to the pnimi, not the chitzoin. What part of it, that's the part that's on the spoon, not the entire length. Ask the Gemara, if you recall, we had a Mishnah that told us that there's no Gid Anosha in a chicken, there's no Gid Anosha in a pigeon. Why? Because they don't have a spoon. They're flat. And the Gemara actually asked, remember, and what if you found a chicken that has a spoon? The Gemara remained with the teku. But we need this pasuk to say that if it's a chicken, there's no Gid Anosha. I need the word kaf to say that you have to have a kaf, and if you don't have a spoon, there's no Gid Anosha. So you're right. Trey kaf ksivi. If you look at the pasuk, trey kaf ksivi, in the same pasuk it says al kaf and noga b'kaf. So since it says the word kaf twice, I learned first of all, not in a chicken. Second of all, that it has to be first of all, it has to be the Gid Anosha is confined to the spoon part, and also if you're a chicken, there's no Gid Anosha. Says the Heilige Mishnah. Oh, we're coming to the Geshmak of Sugi now. This mamish, tomorrow we're going to get more into the halacha l'maisa aspect, maybe the things how it's negiyah to our life. But this is negiyah to the day to day. Yerech shenis bashabo gir anosha. What happens if they didn't do, what do you call it? Trabering. Oh, what if you didn't do trabering? Okay, you bought a thigh, you thought it was trabered, and then one of your guests comes on Shabbos and tells you, hey, there's a gir anosha here. Is the entire thigh treif? If there's enough of the sciatic nerve that imparts flavor, now how do I know if it imparted flavor or not? Says the Mishnah, you pretend that the sciatic nerve is meat and the rest is a turnip. How much meat do you need in order to impart a meaty flavor into the turnip? Let's say it has to be 10% meat to 100% turnip. You have a giant turnip, that's the 100. 10% of the turnip, 10% of the turnip, that size of a... So let's say the turnip is a pound. What's 10% of a pound? Okay, 10 pounds. Let's say the turnip is 10 pounds. The piece of meat is 1 pound. That's enough to impart flavor. So you do the same ratio with a gir anosha and meat. 1 pound gir anosha, 10 pounds meat, boom, you have an isser here. Let's see what Yoshi did here. This is a bunch of gid, right? This is the sciatic nerve. I have no idea what just happened there. It was gishmak, but basically you pretend that the sciatic nerve is meat, and whatever meat imparts flavor to the turnip, that size, that's how large the sciatic nerve has to be. Whatever if the meat is able to impart flavor to the turnip, so whatever size that is, that's how big the gir anosha has to be in order to impart flavor to the meat. And this, by the way, is halacha l'moshe Rabbeinu. It's not something that Tanaim made up. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling Moshe Rabbeinu, it's like basar in a turnip. Gir anosha is bashalim agidin. If the sciatic nerve is cooked with other sinews that are mutter to eat, bizman shemakiroi, if you recognize it, benois and tam, then you don't eat the sciatic nerve. And if the sciatic nerve imparts flavor to the others, then it's aser vimlav. But if you don't recognize it, kulam asurim, you can't eat it because you might be eating the sciatic nerve. V'haroitev benois and tam. And the gravy that's made is also whether it imparted flavor to it or not. If it didn't impart flavor, it's mutter. V'chein chaticha shel nevela, v'chein chaticha shel dag. So if, by mistake, you put in your chont one piece of nevela meat, meat that's also to eat, so if it imparted flavor to the rest of the chont, also to eat. So if there's a dead cat in the chont, and it's a giant pot, it's mutter to eat if it didn't impart flavor. Gish, maket chont. V'chein chaticha shel dag tomei. So, you know, the Stefansky family was very well known for the dagim tuna. That's a Stefansky company. And they prided themselves that they don't have any dolphin or dead rats, where a lot of other tunas, it's legal, it's part of the thing you catch, and in the net there's all sorts of swordfish, dolphin, tummy fish. What's the halacha if there's a piece of dolphin in your tuna? So it depends. It cooked in there, and you know tuna's cooked, the stuff that we buy in a can. If it's recognizable, then it goes by the flavor. If it imparted flavor, no good. But if you don't recognize the dolphin, it's also for you to eat everything. Even without nois and tam, it's also for you to eat. But the gravy is benois and tam. It has to do with how much flavor it received from the davar aser, and if it didn't receive flavor, then it would be mutter. Rabboisai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.